First for breaking news and the best live sport.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Good morning, it's 5 o'clock on Monday the 15th of July. You're listening to Morning Reports on 5 Live with Pete Saul. A benefits cap is being rolled out across England, Wales and Scotland today.
The savings are something around £100 million, which in the light of a welfare budget which is about 1,000 times bigger is not a lot of money.
We'll look at who's affected by the new rules and how they will work. Also this morning, it's understood that 2 soldiers who died on a training exercise in the Brecon Beacons were part of the Territorial Army. We'll cross live to Egypt as a senior US diplomat holds talks with a new military-backed government. In business, claims that rent is unaffordable for low-income families in 1/3 of the UK. More on that in Wake Up to Money in half an hour.
2 of the world's top sprinters, Tyson Gay and Asava Powell, have failed drugs tests. Alistair Cook claims that he was calm as England beat Australia by 14 runs in a real Ashes nail-biter, and a stage 15 win for Chris Froome, who's tightened his grip on the Tour de France. I'm Andy Barwell, a full sports desk just after 5:30.
A benefits cap for people aged between 16 and 64 will be introduced in England, Scotland and Wales today. Couples and lone parents will now receive no more than £500 a week, while a £350 limit applies to single people. The Work and Pensions Secretary, Ian Duncan-Smith, says it's about returning fairness to the benefits system. The idea has been tried out in some London boroughs in recent months. Mr Duncan-Smith's parliamentary aide Andrew Sulu says it had a lot of support from people in the capital, according to a poll for the Evening Standard carried out in May.
87% of people said they supported the benefit cap. You know, people don't understand why the Labour Party thought that people should be able to sit at home on benefits on the equivalent of over £34,000 a year, when many of them are having to go out to work very hard all week for a lot less than that.
One of the areas which tested the new cap is Haringey, and Claire Cobe is the Labour leader of the council there. She says it means additional costs for local authorities.
This year, we've received in total £1.8 million from government to assist us with people facing the benefit cap. We estimate that we'll have to add another £2 million of our own money. Over time, I've been very clear that we need to have an honest conversation. We cannot afford to do that in the long term, but we will have to consult on what that means on potentially requiring families to move outside London, which I think is very difficult.
Well, I've been speaking to Phil Agulnik, who's director of the online benefits calculator entitled2.com, about how the system will work.
It only affects a minority of households where you have an income from benefits that exceeds £500 a week. So in the UK, that is about 50,000 households, and for those households, it'll mean that anything that they get in excess of £500 will be reduced to £500.
Right, and what benefits are affected?
OK, it includes basically all the benefits excluding disability benefit, because disabled people are exempt, and excluding something called working tax credit, because, again, if you're in work, you're exempt from it.
Do you think there'll be areas that will be particularly affected by this?
The areas that are most affected are places with high rent levels. So there's essentially 2 main groups. People who pay high rent and have maybe 1 or 2 or 3 kids, because if you're paying £300 or £350 a week in rent, well, even if you just got 2 kids, that can put you over the cap. And the other big group of affected people with lots of children, so people with more than, say, 5 children, are much more likely to be included in the cap. So there is a strong regional element of areas with high rent, and that's principally in the southeast of the country.
Obviously this is quite political, isn't it? The government says it returns fairness to the benefit system, and I guess most people would think it is fair enough that people shouldn't be able to claim more than £500 a week in benefits. But do you think that in reality it will save a lot of money for the government?
It doesn't save enormous amounts of money because it doesn't affect an enormous number of people. So I think the savings are something around £100 million, which in the light of a welfare budget which is about 1,000 times bigger is not a lot of money. So whether the savings are worth it, I mean, that's an entirely a judgment for politicians to come up with. But because not that many people get more than £500 a week in benefit, it just doesn't save that much money.
Do you think it will be easy for local authorities to implement this?
Implementing it is a real problem. DWP are scanning their records and telling local authorities which people are affected by the benefits cap, and then local authorities reduce their housing benefit. Now, what they also have at the same time is something called a discretionary housing payment. So what they'll be doing is they'll be saying to families who are affected, your benefits will be cut, but you can apply for a discretionary housing payment. And some people who they think have special circumstances or need help moving house will get help through that discretionary housing payment. Other people won't get help, and they're going to be a very difficult situation where local authorities might need to evict them.
That's the director of Entitled2.com, Phil Agulnik. And there'll be much more on this on 5 Live Breakfast with Tony Livesey and Rachel Burden this morning. They'll be speaking to the Work and Pensions Secretary Ian Duncan Smith